It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
And here we go. It's the Wednesday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. Happy to have you with us on what the hell's going on out there. It's sunny and it's raining.
It's nasty.
It's weird. That's always... That just freaks me out somehow. Make up your mind whether. If you want to be sunny, that's fine. If you want to rain, that's fine. Don't do both at the same time.
Yeah, but it's been raining it's been raining for weeks.
That's fine, but look, it's sunny out right now, and it's still raining.
It's just a moment of sunshine. The rain's still coming, Dave.
This weather's very confusing. Yeah, we got to mention this. Our friend Kelly.
78-1.
She did well last night. She had a good night.
Of course.
But she decided to sprinkle 100 on a money line parlay with Penn State.
Winner.
LSU.
Straight up winner at Kentucky.
And Louisville. Up 23 against Duke. And they got on the wrong side of what was the biggest melt, literally, in 40 years in college basketball. That's how enormous this was in terms of the time remaining and the amount of the deficit that Duke made up. Props to Duke. But Louisville, wow, what are you doing? And 78-1 ticket. Ugh.
But that's the beauty of the little three-team money line parlay on the dogs, man. I mean, you can get a big payout on any given night, and they happen. They do cash.
And again, she had a good night because it wasn't like it was known as a sprinkle.
Sure, but
which a lot of us do
when you're on the money line, absolutely.
Yeah.
And in terms of money line parlays, that is a legitimate vulnerability that the sports books have that can be exploited you're looking for long shot scores. Yeah, you can hit 10-team parlays. No, knock yourself out. You can hit a 3-team money line parlay and make a whole lot more.
That, by the way, is Teddy Covers. I never introduced this today. That's Ted Savransky. Teddy Covers. Brent Crow will be with us later on. Some good SEC matchups tonight to talk about with Brent. He is a fantastic college basketball analyst, and he really knows the SEC and the ACC and those conferences in his backyard. Jared Justice is at the controls, and I'm Dave Kogan. Okay, so anyway, did we learn anything about... There's not much to learn about Duke at this point. Is this anything that can be a long-term mental issue for Louisville, or can they just forget about this? I think it's a good thing they've got Chris Mack as the coach.
I mean, it could be, in theory. You're not supposed to blow that kind of a lead at home.
And there's two in a row. It wasn't as spectacular. But they blew the game against Florida State, too.
Sure. And when you're sitting there with an inability to close out ball games, and particularly on your home floor, man, that's mental. And it absolutely is in the back of every kid's mind the next time they're in a situation like that. Now, it may give them increased motivation to close out these games properly, but it was nothing but it was like they never seen a 2-2-1, or a 2-1-2 last night. They were just lost. Absolutely lost against that zone.
Might also provide money line or live game bettors to be taking +7 with the other team at some point in game. Not really. I mean, that was available last night when Duke was down 20. I mean, I guess you could have taken a big... I don't know who's going to do that, but it won. Anyway, Duke over Louisville. Not a good night for the Golden Knights locally. They come up short again. That's 6 losses in the last 8 games. 4 consecutive home losses. And they just can't put the puck in the net. That's about what it comes down to because... they didn't play a bad game last night. They had about 40 shots on goal, somewhere in that area. They did enough to win the game. They're just not getting the puck past the goalies right now. And, I don't want to press the panic button, but deadline's coming.
That's what I'm saying.
And I think you're going to go out and get a sniper. They need a really scary offensive guy like Panarin. I know he's a free agent at the end of the year, so it'd be a rental because there's no guarantee he's going to re-sign. But... if you think you've got the stuff to make a run, you got to go and address the deficiency in the team right now, which is offense.
And that is something that they can do in the next, when's the deadline?
It's the end of the month.
Yeah, exactly. So it's coming. It's not something that the Knights cannot take care of organizationally. They can do that, but it's time to pull the trigger.
I think so. As it stands now, they're looking to finish in third in the division. They're not going to catch the 2 front runners, it doesn't appear so. But the idea is to set yourself up for the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. UNLV wins against Air Force. They do not cover the spread. I've talked to a few people who were at the game, and they were like the only ones there. It was really bad last night in terms of attendance. It's a nice win. You get the win over Air Force, good. Winning record in the Mountain West, but I've never seen anything approaching this in town in terms of the apathy toward the program. Got to make a change, guys. It's that's not a reflection on his ability as a head coach. That's something you can debate on Marvin Menzies. He's not leading this team back to relevance, and they're gonna have to go get a name coach.
Agree in theory, but to make a change, just to make a change, isn't going to do anybody any good.
Not just to make a change.
Well, that's just, I mean, we've seen the football program at times, make changes to make changes. And it's 20 years later, and they're, where they've always been.
I'm only suggesting if there's a name coach.
And I know who you're interested in.
Parentheses. Patino. Go do it. You have to go do it because the program is going to get more irrelevant with the Raiders arriving, the good possibility that we'll end up with either New Orleans or Memphis at some point relocating to Las Vegas in the NBA.
Well, that's just it. That's what I got to ask you because, I mean, the talk now is not about college basketball in this town. The talk about, the talk around town is that it's going to be an NBA franchise. What does that leave for UNLV?
Well, you got to beat them to it. Mm-hmm. You got to make the program relevant again in the next couple of years. I see only one way to do that. And that is to go out there and it's a rare opportunity to get one of the superstars in college basketball coaching because he can't get a Power 5 conference job right now because of what happened at Louisville. So go get him. It's Las Vegas. We don't care much about that stuff anyway, to tell you the truth. I mean, let's be honest. He's got to put butts in the seats, win basketball games. And by the way, UNLV will become a national attraction again just because of the presence of Patino. Go get him. Yeah, I don't care what it costs.
We're not all that worried about the morals clauses here necessarily. But let me ask you this. If they get, there's one name. It's Patino.
Right.
If they get Patino, does that automatically mean UNLV's a top 25 team again and nationally relevant?
Top 25 team right away? No. I think in fairly short order, probably. But one definite. They're a top 25 team in terms of publicity.
Right.
Immediately. And right now,
they could use it.
The brand really needs it, okay? Because even the diehards at this point, well, how come we can't get back to the Elite Eight? Even the diehards have given up at this point, and they're not going to the games. They're just not going. They weren't. I'm telling you, from what I'm told, there were maybe 2,500 in the stands last night. That's not good.
I mean, I was at the New Mexico game a couple of weeks ago, and the lower bowl was mostly full. There was nobody really sitting.
A lot of New Mexico fans, surprisingly, because while they're not supporting the Lobos at home for much the same reasons, they'll still travel to Las Vegas because it's a great trip.
Sure, but it wasn't. Back in the day, New Mexico would bring a ton of fans. And the Rebels, would really be a great atmosphere in there, just like we had for the BYU games and for the. But it's not back in the day anymore.
No,
and even on the nights where the attendance was fairly good, atmospherically, it was fun. It was a good night, but it wasn't the moral equivalent of Cameron Indoor Arena or anything even close.
Not even Cameron Outdoor Arena. Anyway,
or the KFC Yum Center.
Sometimes people misunderstand when some of us here are critical of UNLV. I know the school gets upset about it, but we're not trashing the program. We want them to get really good again.
Yeah, sure.
We want them to get good. Yes. Yeah. We're not going to be apathetic and say, it's okay, we'll just root for the team. No. We want them to matter again. At least it was fun when LK was here because all of a sudden UNLV they were an attractive team, getting a lot of TV games, and they were good. And they can be that level at least again. And you get an electrifying guy like Patino, a polarizing guy, if you will. Cameras are going to be here. They're going to be here just waiting to see if something happens. Good. I want them here. Okay? And they'll get better players. All right, let's take a look at some of the action tonight. We've got a good schedule tonight. We've got some really good NBA matchups. So let's get to a couple right now on our Wednesday 4 at 4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
Today's the 13th, right?
Yes, sir.
That means tomorrow's Valentine's Day.
Uh-oh.
They're open late, okay? So get down to MJ Christensen if you haven't yet. And make sure you're taking care of that special someone in your life. Even if you've put it off until the last minute, you don't have to worry. They've got the staff down there to help you make the right choice. 30 to 70% off select items in the store. Don't screw up Valentine's Day. Get over to MJ Christensen at Boca Park and make the right decision. I'll throw a Lee Corso in since he used to be the University of Indiana coach. And this game's in Indiana. Bucks and Pacers. And everybody just decided, well, that's it for the Pacers. They're dead without Oladipo. But the Pacers, and I still kind of think that, but the Pacers are saying, not so fast, my friend. Yeah. They're playing some decent ball anyway. This is a team that's looking like a real cohesive, determined unit right now. But they've got a tough assignment tonight with the powerful Milwaukee Bucks coming to town.
Yeah, it should be a really good game. Yes. And Indiana now 6 straight victories, 5-1 against a number. The only one they didn't cover, they had covered with 10 seconds to play down in New Orleans. In the final 10 seconds didn't go in their backers' favor. But where they're doing it right now is on the defensive end of the court. The 5 games they covered, and this is the NBA 2019.
Yeah.
The 5 games that they covered, their opponent has not scored more than 94 points. And the 94 points they scored came in a game where they lost by, 30?
And that was a bad game.
40. The game
Yes.
they blew out the Lakers by 42. So it's certainly, and then, of course, that was a game where Indiana was shooting. That's the only over they've cashed during this entire run. Their defense has been stellar, and I saw a great quote from Darren Collison the other night before the game against Charlotte, in which he's like, hey, we're taking a real pride in our defensive identity right now. And it's worth noting the last time Milwaukee came to town, and this Bucks team is a juggernaut, Dave. I mean, they are.
Oh, they're strong.
And, the addition of Mirotic at the deadline, I mean, that was the single most important player anybody got.
I would agree with that.
If he's healthy. He's an absolute difference, has the potential to be an absolute difference maker for that team. So it's not like I'm taking the Bucks lightly by any stretch of the imagination, but the last time Milwaukee visited this floor, they lost by 16.
That will probably be in their minds. That makes me sound like Milwaukee and revenge might be the side here.
Well, I mean, look, the Bucks, and in this particular role, most teams don't take this. The revenge doesn't. It's not something that they care a whole lot about.
Not that big in the NBA, but there are select occasions.
And the Bucks, as a team, take a look at their track record in this role. I'll give you a hint. It's pretty darn good.
You would have thought by, it's All-Star Weekend coming up.
Yes, sir.
And if the Kings are 4 games over 500 in December, okay, they'll end up being the Kings. It's mid-February, and they're still a winning basketball team. So the Kings have been pesky this year. They'll be underdogs tonight. They're going in and facing a better team on the road in Denver. But it's kind of nice to see Sacramento not just being a walk in the park for at least one season, and they have a chance to make the playoffs.
And they've played particularly good ball over the last couple of weeks, And I don't know if you remember back in October, before the season started, Vlade Divac, the GM for Sacramento, saying, "Hey, he's like, we've got a team, we can beat the Bulls. We're just not, the Bulls championship squads. We just need a little experience. The talent level is there, and it turns out he's probably right.
Well, they haven't gone away. I mean, you're 56 games into the season, and you're still with a winning record. I guess you're a decent team.
A really positive homestand, winning 5 out of 6. But this Nuggets team, again, for a regular season squad, we like Denver a lot. And they're supposed to get Isaiah Thomas in the lineup tonight, who's an interesting addition to an already crowded backcourt. I'm curious how they're going to juggle minutes.
He'll help him offensively. He'll hurt him defensively. And it's a question of using him at the right time in terms of minutes. I don't think he's a starter at this point, but he can still be a valuable asset.
And he can be instant offense off the bench.
He can be Vinnie Johnson microwave.
Which everybody wants and needs, both in the regular season and certainly come postseason time.
An interesting matchup at the ACC tonight. Syracuse taking on NC State. NC State never belonged in the top 25. Okay? They just never did. They faced